I'm Judy.
And I'm Hayley.
And last year at this skills conference, we had the pleasure of presenting on our knowledge search platform, BCLP Discover, that we launched to our firm in January 2023.
This year, we're here to talk to you about life after launch. So what happens in the 12 months after Discover went live, and how we used data analytics to track the progress of Discover's adoption throughout the firm, but also as a promotion tool.
But before we do that, Colette Schuler in our team is just going to give you a quick recap on what BCLP Discover is.
BCLP Discover is our firm's integrated smart search system. The platform itself is built using iManage's Insight Search and contains our firm matter history, legal documents, knowledge resources, closing books, and filed pleadings over the past 10 years. The platform is supplemented behind the scenes by a number of fully automated and semi-automated workflows that pull data and content from other systems in the firm and external data sources.
After we launched Discover, the Central KM team embarked on a rigorous adoption and promotion plan that was almost entirely data-driven. We knew from previous experience that it wasn't enough just to put out some firm-wide communications and invite some people to training and hope for the best.
So at the same time as launching Discover, we built Power BI dashboards that gave us comprehensive, instant access about how well Discover is being used and the relating KM processes. Colette, tell us more about these.
Here's an example of one of our Discover-related dashboards. This one tells about our members' search habits. It tells us how many people are using Discover to search for items. It also tells us how many searches they have done over a given period. It tells us what they are searching for and the search terms they are using. It also tells us what content is most popular with our users. We also have other dashboards that tell us how many lawyers are tagging documents and submitting them as a knowledge resource to Discover. How many lawyers are spending time on KM activities and initiatives? How many closing binders have been submitted to Discover, and by what offices and practice groups? We also measure matters profiled in Foundation and attendance levels of KM training sessions.
We've used the data in these dashboards in 5 ways. Firstly, of course, we use them to measure the ROI for every element of BCLP Discover. Are people actually using the tool and the underlying processes? Was it worth the investment? We run quarterly reports on the activity across Discover and analyse these to understand its ROI.
Secondly, we use the data to measure against KPIs. At the start of each year, we set ourselves ambitious goals in the Central KM team for adoption and usage across the whole Discover initiative. Some of these goals are co-opted by our knowledge lawyers and form part of their career objectives. That way, we have a shared incentive to get people trained and using the tools. We use the Power BI dashboards to monitor our progress against these goals, and our quarterly reports are circulated widely so people feel invested and there is complete transparency on performance.
Thirdly, we use data to give us real-time feedback on where our adoption efforts are paying off and where they're not. For example, we soon realised large demos in the US didn't work. Although one-to-ones take longer, they result in 10 times the amount of traction. So we moved to a programme of shorter one-to-one sessions targeting key influencers.
We also use the data to help us spot user trends and behaviours. For example, we noticed that the search terms people used were very often vague. We made sure to include more time in our demos on how to compose search terms and combine these with filters.
And finally, we use the metrics to share our success internally. We tell key stakeholders, even our co-chairs, how we are doing. We also use the stats in demos to lawyers to lend credibility to what we're showing them.
So what are our lessons learned? Firstly, empower yourselves with Power BI. Initially, we had to rely heavily on our tech team to build the Power BI dashboards that we needed. And to be honest, we struggled sometimes to get their time and attention. So what we ended up doing is getting them to teach some of our KM team members how to build and maintain these dashboards ourselves. That has made life so much easier.
Secondly, think ahead about what metrics you want to measure over time and not just at the point of launch. For example, you're likely to want to know not just how many users you have, but how many times they've gone back to use a tool. Year 1 for us was really all about awareness, but going into year 2, it's now becoming about repeat usage, and we need a different set of metrics to track that.
Thirdly, metric-driven goals are not familiar to most KM team members or lawyers, but they are really useful. They can be difficult to set if you have no baseline, so use pilots without metrics at first to help you decide what can be your realistic goals when you do full launch.
So to sum up, in a world of rapidly changing technology, it can be tempting to make assumptions about what it is that lawyers really care about and value in their daily work.
What we've found is having comprehensive, accurate data about Discover and its related processes gives us a much better grounding to make decisions about how we improve it and what we supplement it with.
And as a result, we're in a much better position to advise our firm in future investments in this area and to really understand our performance as a KM team.